Hey, what's going on, everybody? So currently it is 10:35 p.m. The third round of the NFL draft is about to finish, but I thought we would discuss the first three rounds of the Packers draft, and I sort of want to go over my thoughts on basically each round and give my overall thoughts on what I think the Packers have done so far. But if you guys are new here, you haven't subscribed to the channel, I put up Packers content pretty much every single day. So if you're into that and other NFL content, feel free to subscribe down below to the channel. And also, if you haven't followed me on Twitter, Luke_Beller, where I put up more Packers content over there as well. So I think starting off in the first round, sort of looking at what the Packers did there, clearly I think two great defensive players the Packers drafted. Number 22 coming in and getting Quay Walker from Georgia, and then also another Georgia player coming in at number 28 with Devontae Wyatt. So already this Packers defense was looking really, really good, really solid, bringing back lots of different players, which I think partly we were able to do just because of Devontae Adams leaving. With him freeing up that $20 million of space, the Packers were able to give Devondre Campbell a 5-year, $50 million deal. Rasul Douglas was like a 3-year. I can't remember the exact numbers on his deal, but basically the Packers were able to bring back almost the entirety of their defense. So to be able to come into the draft, get Devontae Wyatt, who is seen as one of the best defensive linemen in this draft class, a guy who is very good against the run and the pass, to be able to put him alongside Kenny Clark, also adding Jarran Reed from the Chiefs in this offseason, and then have Preston Smith as well as Rashawn Gary on the outside. I think this Packers defensive line got a lot better, but then also to adding Quay Walker, his speed, his explosiveness alongside Devondre Campbell. This Packers defense is going to be pretty good to watch for the next couple seasons, so I really like what the Packers did in the first round. And so then tonight, with the Packers coming into round 2, we had picks 53 and 59, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 59. And at the beginning of the draft, I was just sitting there eating some Cane's chicken, expecting, okay, it's probably going to be, another hour or two before I make any videos because the Packers are sitting at the end of the 50s. And we were discussing on the live stream yesterday, will the Packers be able to get some solid wide receivers at that point? Because there was a part of me thinking, if the Packers wait to draft a wide receiver till 53, they probably could lose out on a lot of good wide receivers that will probably fly off the board before they were to come and pick. So part of me was expecting that Brian Gutekunst may trade up a little bit earlier in the second round, but when he came up right away, it was basically right when the draft started tonight, trading up to 34 with the Vikings. I mean, the fact that the Vikings let the Packers trade up to that position to draft Christian Watson, I mean, when I saw the trade at first off, I was like, okay, this has to be for wide receiver, because I couldn't see the Packers trading both of their second round picks to move up from the end of the second round all the way up to 34. I thought it would have to be a wide receiver, and it was a wide receiver in Christian Watson. And I was very excited when I saw the Packers pick Christian Watson, just because I've just really, since the past month or so, watching lots of different wide receivers, Christian Watson was a guy who just caught my eye, 6'4", and then like 4.36 speed. Plus, he could be used in the return game as well. And I put out a highlight video of him as well. So you guys have seen just how explosive of a player and a wide receiver he is. So I think for the Packers to get him at 34 was great, because there are lots of people who thought he could potentially go at the end of the first round. I wouldn't have even been opposed if the Packers went with him at 28. So the fact that the Packers were able to get those two defensive players at 22 and 28 and then come into round 2 and get Christian Watson at 34, I think that was an insanely great start by the Packers with their first 3 draft picks of this draft. Of course, we do lose another second-round pick, but I think the Packers probably assumed that Christian Watson was not going to be available by the time they were going to draft, because if they thought Christian Watson was going to be available at 53, there's no way they would have traded up to 34. So they probably knew that other teams had some interest in him. And he is somewhat of a player who some people question, him being in a lesser division in college football. But I think when you just sort of look at how explosive he is as an athlete and how fast he is, it could take him a couple of years to develop potentially. But I do think, just the speed the Packers lost in MVS, we clearly have that now with Christian Watson. I think there is going to be lots of opportunity for Christian Watson in year 1. We'll just see if he can build that rapport with Aaron Rodgers quickly, because, clearly it takes these guys time to develop, time to grow, time to learn the playbook. And so even if in year 1 Christian Watson doesn't have an insane 1,000-yard season, obviously it takes time for these guys to develop. But I'm excited to have Christian Watson, and I think looking at those first 2 rounds for the Packers, I think they completely smashed it, crushed it out of the park, because I wouldn't have been mad if the Packers took Christian Watson at 22. So the fact that we got him at 34, I love that. And so then the final pick of tonight, which I just literally dropped a video out on, is the Packers drafting interior offensive lineman Sean Rhyan, who played left tackle at 3 years for UCLA, but people see him more as a guard in the NFL. So I sort of discussed that in my previous video, but to have potentially Elgton Jenkins at right tackle when he's healthy, Bakhtiari at left tackle, and now we have Sean Rhyan, who could compete with, John Runyon and Royce Newman at guard. So the Packers get some depth there at the offensive line, which I definitely think they needed, considering losing Billy Turner as well as Lucas Patrick. And so when we came to this draft, when I was looking at my top needs, I think I had wide receiver, need one. We checked that off with Christian Watson. I'm hoping we come in later in this draft and get some other speedy wide receivers, which I feel like we'll at least leave the draft with one more wide receiver between rounds 4 and 7. I would sort of assume that would probably happen. So I had wide receiver as my number 1 need. I think number 2 I had, was it defensive tackle or edge? I know 2 and 3 was edge rusher and defensive tackle. We haven't gotten an edge rusher, so I would expect the Packers to maybe come in soon and do that. But we did shore up defensive tackle, of course, with Devontae Wyatt, which is an insane pick. Lots of people thought he may not make it to the Packers at 22, and so the fact that he fell all the way to 28 was amazing. Brian Gutekunst even said in his press conference yesterday that when the Packers drafted Quay Walker at 22, linebacker from Georgia, he sort of assumed that Devontae Wyatt would be off the board by 28, but he was happy to see that he was not off the board by 28. So we get that defensive tackle short up there. Now in the offseason, adding Jarran Reed, free agent from Kansas City, and then also drafting Devontae Wyatt, who I think will be a beast there alongside Kenny Clark. Edge rusher, I still think is a need for the Packers behind Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. So I feel like the Packers will probably address that. And then besides those 3, I had offensive line, I think was at 5, I think. So we got some offensive line depth with Sean Ryan. And then I also had safety in my top 5. So today the Packers did exercise Darnell Savage's 5th-year option. So I still think safety is a need because we see Adrian Amos is going to not have a contract unless they decide to sign him again after this season. So I still think safety is a need for the Packers. So we'll see. Between rounds 4 and 7, the Packers still have lots of different picks. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them go another wide receiver, potentially come in, draft a safety, and then also an edge rusher. And then we'll see about potential other picks as well. Maybe another offensive lineman in there as well. So overall, for these first 3 rounds, I really, really like what the Packers did, especially with those first 3 picks, especially with the Packers drafting Christian Watson. Because I said in lots of videos in the past few weeks, like, I just want the Packers to leave the draft with Christian Watson, whether that's in the first round, whether that's in the second round if he falls to them. But clearly the Packers are like, you know what? We need Christian Watson. We need him on this team. And so I think the Packers moving up in the second round to get him, I think is going to be seen in years to come as a great, great trade by Brian Gutekunst in the next 3 to 5 years. I started off the video looking at his highlights, calling him future Hall of Famer, Christian Watson. So hopefully that becomes the case eventually, because I think as Packers fans, we would obviously like to see that, to have another beastly wide receiver drafted in the second round. And then, if Christian Watson in the next 2 years becomes a beast as well, I don't think we'll ever sit here, like, at least me personally, it's like, do we really ever need a first-round wide receiver? I don't know if we actually do. The Packers have been pretty good at not drafting first-round wide receivers, and they continue the streak this year. But I have to give the Packers a solid A for these first 3 rounds. I feel like A+ would have been like the Packers sitting put it in the second round and having Christian Watson fall to them and then getting someone else. So A+ obviously is up and above, and I think the Packers have done an insanely good job. So I'll give them an A for these first 3 rounds. I think they've done great. But let me know your grade for the Packers for these first 3 rounds in the comments down below. Clearly, we won't know for years and years, sort of how these draft picks pan out. But first 3 rounds in the books for the NFL. I like what the Packers have done a lot. I honestly couldn't really be much happier than what the Packers have been able to do, partly because of Christian Watson being drafted in the second round by this Packers team. So we'll see how they finish off the next few rounds for the draft. But that is all for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching all these videos I've been putting out. Because there have been a lot today with the draft happening. There will be a ton tomorrow with all the different picks coming out. So I thank you guys so much, all you guys who watch these videos. Couldn't do it without all you guys who watch and support these videos. So thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe to the channel down below, and I'll see you guys next time.